The night is cold, and mist coils through the crooked alleys of a small medieval village. The camera pushes in slowly on wooden cottages, where candlelight flickers through cracks in the shutters. A voice whispers, trembling yet heavy with fear. They say she cursed a cow, and it withered by morning. Another voice interrupts, hushed and urgent. The bread turned black in her oven. She called upon the devil. I swear it. This is how it always began, not with evidence, not with proof, but with whispers in medieval Europe. Suspicion itself was enough to place a woman's life in peril. Misfortune was common. Crops failed, sickness spread, livestock died, and people, desperate for answers, looked for someone to blame. That someone was often a widow, a healer, or simply a woman who stood apart from the rest. We hear the church bells tolling, deep and ominous. The parish priest stands in the square, cloaked in authority, his voice echoing. The devil walks among us, and his brides must be revealed. His sermon feeds the village's unease, transforming suspicion into certainty. The camera lingers on a woman's face, lined with worry, her hands trembling as she clutches her child. Her name is Anna, a healer, a midwife, a woman who dared to speak her mind. Tonight, her neighbor's whispers coil around her like a noose. The narrator's voice cuts in, steady, chilling. In the Middle Ages, accusations of witchcraft spread like wildfire, and once suspicion fell upon you, there was no escaping the machinery of fear. The community, the church, the law, all turned against you. And then came the trials, grotesque rituals disguised as justice, trials no one could survive. The scene fades with the creaking sound of a heavy wooden door being unbarred, guards stepping forward. A torch flares, casting firelight on Anna's terrified face. She is dragged into the darkness, toward her fate. Inside a stone hall, dimly lit by torches, Anna stands before the inquisitors. The court is packed. Villagers lean forward eagerly, as if attending a grim spectacle. Behind the bench sits a robed magistrate, his voice dripping with cold authority. Anna of Greifswald, you stand accused of consorting with the devil, of cursing the fields, of poisoning the well, of bringing death upon livestock and children alike. How you plead? Her voice is fragile, breaking. I am innocent. I have only ever healed. I serve God, as all of us do, but her words are drowned out by a hiss of murmurs. To speak in her defense is useless, for in this twisted court, innocence is not the point. Confession is. The inquisitor leans forward, his eyes burning with conviction, or perhaps ambition. The trials were not merely about belief. They were political theater, a demonstration of power. Convictions meant fear was maintained, authority reinforced, wealth sometimes seized. Then let us see, the magistrate declares, whether God himself will prove your innocence. His gavel strikes the table like thunder. A scribe scratches the words down on parchment. The people murmur, some crossing themselves, others smirking with satisfaction. The narrator returns, low and grim, medieval witch trials were not trials as we understand them today. They were orchestrated ordeals, often designed to force a confession or to prove guilt through impossible tests. Each test was a trap, an ordeal where survival was taken as proof of guilt, and death as a tragic but acceptable outcome. Justice was not sought. Fear demanded sacrifice. Anna's eyes dart through the room, searching for a friendly face. None meet hers. The camera lingers on her trembling hands as the magistrate announces, "Tomorrow we shall test her by water." A gasp ripples through the crowd. The words hang heavy in the air. Anna knows what that means. And so do we. The torches flare, shadows stretch, and the camera pulls back as her cries echo into the stone vaults. The sound fades into silence, an unbearable silence that foreshadows a horror to come. The dawn breaks gray and merciless over the riverbank. Villagers gather like spectators at a festival, their breaths steaming in the cold air, eyes gleaming with morbid anticipation. Anna is dragged forward by two guards, her wrists bound tightly with rope that bites into her flesh. The magistrate stands upon a wooden platform, his voice echoing over the crowd. We shall now see whether this woman is servant to the devil. If she is pure, the water will accept her. If she is guilty, the water, God's creation, will reject her. It sounds logical to them, almost holy, but in truth, it is nothing but a death sentence disguised as divine judgment. Anna is trembling, barefoot on the frozen mud. She looks toward the crowd, searching for mercy, but sees only hunger in her eyes, the hunger of people desperate to see evil punished, even if that evil is imagined. A priest steps forward and blesses the river with a cross. The water glitters faintly under the pale light, indifferent to human cruelty. Her ankles are bound to her wrists. Her body trusts like a sack of grain. A hush falls over the crowd. Then, with no ceremony, she is pushed into the black water. She vanishes beneath the surface, bubbles rising. The villagers crane their necks, waiting. Seconds stretch into agonizing eternities. Finally, her body rises, not sinking but bobbing helplessly. The crowd gasps. To them, it is proof of guilt. But the truth is chilling. A bound body often floats, the air trapped within making buoyancy inevitable. To survive is to be condemned. To sink is to drown. Either way, the accused loses. Anna thrashes, coughing, water choking her lungs as she cries for help. The guards drag her back to shore half-drowned, her face pale and lips blue. The magistrate nods solemnly, as though the outcome had been divinely ordained. The water has spoken. She is guilty. The narrator's voice cuts in. The ordeal by water was one of the most infamous witch tests of the Middle Ages. It was a no-win trial. Sink and die innocent. Float and live only to be burned as guilty. This twisted ritual was less about truth and more about theater, appeasing the fears of the mob, proving that evil was being fought, and keeping authority in unquestioned control. The crowd begins to chant. Torches are raised high. Anna collapses onto ground, weeping. She has survived the water, but her survival has only sealed her fate. Days later, Anna is dragged again, this time into the village square, where a crowd circles around a pile of glowing coals. The magistrate's voice booms. Let the fire test her purity. If she is innocent, she shall walk unharmed. If she is guilty, God's flame will reveal the devil's mark upon her. The villagers watch eagerly. Children perched on shoulders, faces lit by the infernal glow. Anna is forced to hold a red-hot iron rod in her bare hands, the heat radiating like the breath of hell. She tries to pull away, screaming, but the guards press her forward. Her skin sizzles at the touch, blistering instantly. The smell of burnt flesh fills the air. She staggers, clutching the iron for prescribed steps, each one a torment. Finally, she collapses, dropping the iron with a clang that rings through the square. Her hands are ruined, raw and bleeding. The crowd recoils, but no one steps forward to help. The magistrate declares, "We shall bind her wounds. In 3 days, if they heal clean, she is innocent. If they fester, she is guilty." But healing, in this age of dirt and infection, is no guarantee. Most wounds fester, and festering in their logic is not nature, but proof of witchcraft. The narrator cuts in. The ordeal by fire was another trap, carried out under guise of divine will. It demanded survival against impossible odds. Even when wounds healed, suspicion rarely vanished. The fire was not meant to reveal truth. It was meant to terrify, to remind people the cost of standing apart, of defiance, of being different. Anna lies trembling on the dirt, her hands scorched, her body shaking. Above her, the crowd chants again, intoxicated by the spectacle of punishment. She is no longer Anna the healer. She is Anna the witch.